permanent memorial was established to honor the 8 soldiers who lost their lives during the mission. Their sacrifice became a symbol of the courage and resilience of the U.S. military. 90 minutes. That was all the time they had to save innocent lives. One wrong move could trigger executions. One delay could erase every chance. This mission would test precision under extreme pressure. At 5 a.m., 8 American hostages were trapped in an Iranian compound, their lives hanging by a thread. Intelligence suggested a rescue mission could succeed, but only if every second was accounted for. The mission was named Operation Eagle Claw, a daring rescue plan involving multiple helicopters and ground forces. But the plan's biggest obstacle was the unforgiving desert terrain, the hostile environment, and Iranian air defenses. As the clock ticked, U.S. forces geared up, preparing to execute the operation. They were armed, ready for combat, and their mission was clear. Get in, rescue the hostages, and get out in under 90 minutes. The operation was precise, but risky. They would fly into Iranian territory, refuel mid-flight, and land within miles of the hostages. But unknown to them, obstacles lurked at every turn. In a classified room, military leaders debated the final decision. Should they proceed with the mission despite the unknown? Risk was high. The reward, rescuing American hostages, was worth every ounce of effort. Under the cover of darkness, the helicopters ascended. SEAL Team 6 was ready, but the helicopter's mechanical systems were not. Every minute of this mission was critical. Failure was not an option. The helicopters navigated through harsh weather, relying on advanced stealth technology to avoid detection. Each passing second brought them closer to their target. The mission was unfolding, but the risks multiplied. Disaster struck. One helicopter, crippled by mechanical failure, crashed in the desert. It was a nightmare. Valuable equipment was lost, and the team was forced to adjust on the fly, improvising their next steps. The team fought through the wreckage, regrouping as they made their way on foot to complete the mission. Time was running out. The first failure couldn't stop them from continuing their mission. With time running out, the team pushed forward, navigating through the unforgiving desert. The crash had cost them precious moments, but the mission wasn't over. They were determined to press on at all costs. As the mission unfolded, the team was forced to change tactics. They had to deal with unexpected enemy checkpoints, which could delay their progress. The clock was ticking, and every second counted. In the desert night, SEAL Team 6 communicated with command, adjusting their plan in real time. Every move was calculated, but the forces they faced were unpredictable. This was a high-stakes game. Fear, adrenaline, and focus were etched on the faces of the soldiers. They had trained for months, but the reality of the mission was more dangerous than they had ever imagined. The tension was palpable. Finally, they reached the compound. The SEALs prepared to breach the walls, knowing that every second would make the difference between life and death. They were about to enter the most dangerous phase of the operation. With a loud explosion, the team breached the compound. The soldiers entered swiftly, securing the area. The air was thick with tension. This was the moment they'd been preparing for, and failure was not an option. Inside the compound, the SEALs cleared rooms methodically. But as they advanced, they encountered unexpected resistance. Hasse had turned and Crawler fired back. The mission had turned from a covert operation into an all-out combat situation. The mission was turning chaotic. They fought through a maze of rooms, securing the hostages' location. But time was slipping away, and each shot fired meant the mission's timeline was in jeopardy. As chaos unfolded inside, their extraction point remained a looming concern. The helicopters waited for the signal. The SEALs knew they had minutes left to complete the mission and get the hostages out safely. In the heart of the compound, the SEALs found the hostages. Their faces were filled with fear and exhaustion. The soldiers knew the clock was running out. They had to act quickly or face disaster. With the hostages in tow, the SEALs began the most dangerous part of the mission, the extraction. Every second counted, and any misstep could lead to disaster. There was no turning back now. The helicopter hovered in place, ready to transport the hostages and the SEALs out of the compound. The team knew their time was running out. The extraction needed to happen fast, or the mission would fail. As the team rushed the hostages toward the helicopters, they were met with gunfire from the compound's defenders. The SEALs fought back fiercely, but every step forward was met with increasing resistance. One by one, the hostages boarded the helicopter, their faces a mix of fear and disbelief. They had made it out alive, but the SEALs were not yet safe. The mission was far from over. As the first helicopter lifted off, the SEALs stayed behind, covering the extraction. They were the last aboard. The mission wasn't over until every soldier was safely out of harm's way. With the second helicopter safely in the air, the team thought they were in the clear. But their journey out of the hostile territory was far from smooth. More challenges lay ahead. Disaster struck once again. One of the helicopters experienced a technical malfunction mid-flight, jeopardizing the escape. The team's hearts raced as they struggled to keep control and avoid a catastrophic crash. Inside the helicopter, the team fought to keep control. The malfunction was serious, and their chance of survival depended on their training and ability to think quickly. Every second mattered. In a nail-biting moment, the SEALs managed to stabilize the helicopter just in time. They resumed their flight, narrowly avoiding disaster. But the mission wasn't over yet. They still had to cross hostile airspace. As the helicopters cleared the compound's vicinity, the mission's final chapter began. The hostages had been rescued, but the SEALs knew they had narrowly escaped. The operation's success had come at a high cost. As the helicopters flew toward their extraction point, the team knew that they had succeeded against overwhelming odds. But the mission's true aftermath would unfold when they returned home and the world learned the truth. Back in Washington, President Jimmy Carter and his advisors watched the mission unfold in real time. The failure would have lasting consequences, not just for the military but for American credibility on the global stage. As news of the operation's failure broke, global media outlets swarmed to cover the event. The world reacted with shock, and the American public was left questioning their government's ability to execute such a high-stakes mission. The soldiers who survived the mission returned home in silence, their pride overshadowed by the weight of failure. Their bravery was unquestionable, but the mission's tragic end would haunt them for years. The failed mission had rippling effects across the globe. U.S. relations with Iran were further strained, while other nations watched closely. America's military power was questioned, and new security concerns arose in the Middle East. Protests erupted across the United States. Citizens demanded answers for the loss of American lives, and there was widespread outrage at the apparent failure of the operation. The political fallout was immense. A memorial service was held for the 8 soldiers lost in the mission. Their families mourned their deaths, and their sacrifice became a symbol of the risks and consequences of military operations. In the wake of the failure, military and intelligence officials conducted a thorough review. The lessons learned from Operation Eagle Claw would shape future operations, changing tactics and approach to high-risk missions. The military adapted its strategies, integrating new technology, better communication, and contingency plans for future operations. The failure had shown the world how fragile even the most precise missions could be. While the mission was ultimately a failure, its legacy would live on, shaping the U.S. military's future operations. The sacrifices made in the mission would never be forgotten by those who served. Following the mission's failure, military leaders gathered to analyze what went wrong. It was clear that the mission's failure had exposed weaknesses in planning, leading to necessary changes in strategy. For the soldiers who participated in the mission, the aftermath was a haunting reminder of the risks involved in operations of such magnitude. Their bravery was overshadowed by the devastating outcome. The failure of Operation Eagle Claw became part of a larger narrative of U.S. military operations. Though a defeat, it helped shape future missions, teaching valuable lessons that would influence strategies in the years ahead. Global leaders expressed shock at the mission's failure. Some praised the bravery of the U.S. forces, while others criticized the operation's execution. The geopolitical fallout would affect U.S. relations for years to come. The media frenzy following the mission led to intense debates about the U.S.'s intelligence capabilities. Questions about planning, preparedness, and communication dominated discussions, adding pressure on the military to make drastic improvements. In response to the mission's failure, the U.S. military revamped its training programs, integrating advanced technology and refining tactical strategies. Every mistake made during the operation was a lesson for future missions. A permanent memorial was established to honor the 8 soldiers who lost their lives during the mission. Their sacrifice became a symbol of the courage and resilience of the U.S. military. In the wake of the failure, Special Operations Forces were restructured. A new generation of highly trained soldiers was put to the test, equipped with better tools and a new mindset to handle high-risk missions. The U.S. military's global strategy evolved, using lessons from past failures to ensure more successful and adaptable operations. The lessons learned from Eagle Claw resonated in future missions around the globe. While Operation Eagle Claw ended in failure, the American spirit remained unbroken. The lessons of that mission continue to shape the U.S. military, ensuring that the mistakes of the past were never repeated. Despite the mission's failure, it led to stronger international military alliances. Countries began to collaborate more closely on intelligence and security, realizing the need for joint efforts in addressing global terrorism. The lessons learned from Operation Eagle Claw had a profound effect on future U.S. military operations. New protocols, strategies, and technological advancements were introduced, improving overall efficiency and effectiveness in later missions. For many soldiers, the aftermath of the failed mission left deep emotional scars. The mission's tragic failure became part of their legacy, but they continued to serve with determination, carrying the lessons of their experience. The families of the fallen soldiers carried their loved ones' memories. Their sacrifices became symbols of the costs of war, reminding the nation of the heavy price paid for military service. A memorial plaque now stands in honor of the 8 soldiers who perished in the mission. Their courage and sacrifice are remembered, symbolizing the risks that military personnel face in the pursuit of duty. In response to the mission's failure, the U.S. military introduced new training methods, focusing on contingency plans and real-time decision-making. The operational mistakes were studied to improve readiness for future high-risk missions. Special operations units refined their tactics, learning from the failures of the past. They practiced in real-world environments, preparing for complex missions with multiple contingencies, ensuring that every move would be calculated and effective. The mission's failure, while devastating, did not stop U.S. operations. The military adapted quickly, leading to future successful campaigns, and CLAW remained pivotal in shaping America's fight against global terrorism. As the sun set on the operation's failure, a new era of military strategy emerged. The U.S. military's resilience, adaptability, and commitment to success defined their future operations, learning from past mistakes to move forward. The legacy of Operation Eagle Claw is a reminder that success doesn't come without failure. The lessons learned have shaped the U.S. military, ensuring future missions are more precise and effective.